Hey there, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Luckiest T-Shirt. Today we're going to be doing a deck technology on Vela, the Clad. So what does Vela do? Well, she is a 4/4 with Intimidate, legendary creature. She's a human wizard. Other creatures you control have Intimidate, and whenever Vela the Clad or another creature you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. Now, I've played a couple matches with this deck. It's quite a bit of fun. There's not necessarily a whole lot of attacking going on with the deck. It's really all about putting out as many creatures as you can, getting Vela on the battlefield, and removing as many creatures as you can. Now, the caveat to this is I do not run very many sacrifice effects, so a lot of this has to do with bounce and basically kind of messing with bounce to your hand and exile and return to the battlefield, those kind of effects. So let's get right into it. So this is Vela the Clad. Card number 1, Dark Ritual, an oldie but a goodie. This helps you get Vela on the battlefield faster if it's in one of your opening, if it's in your opening hand or you draw it early in the game. It can also just help get you that bit of mana. Kind of starting off this deck tech with the mana rocks. So we've got a few of them. We've got a Soul Ring. We've got a Thran Dynamo. We've got Dimir Signet, Dark Steel Ingot. They're hopefully, if I've done this right, they're all flashing right around here somewhere. Grim Monolith, Mana Vault, and Wayfarer's Bauble. I'm sure there are better rocks out there, but those are the ones that I'm using in this deck. All right, so the next little section here is creatures that work with Vela by getting you value in the form of tokens, by getting you value in the form of blinking things. Anyway, you'll see. So we'll start off with Conjurer's Closet. So this is a 5-mana artifact that says at the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield. So you get to blink one thing each turn. That gives you 1 Vela the Clad trigger. Each opponent loses 1 life. Blood Artist. This works a lot like Vela. Whenever a creature dies, target player loses 1 life. You gain 1 life. My favorite Magic card ever printed. The art on it is sick. The flavor is sick. And in a deck where maybe not necessarily everything's dying, but if you can build up a big enough board state and somebody casts Wrath of God, Damnation, any kills everything sweepers, it can be very good, and was pivotal in a recent win where an opponent cast Living Death, and it was copied a bunch of times, and I had Blood Artist bouncing in and out of the graveyard along with a whole bunch of other creatures. Next, we got a Snake Basket. A Snake Basket is a 4-mana artifact that you pay X, sacrifice Snake Basket, put X Cobra tokens into play, and they are 1/1 green creatures. You can only do that as a sorcery, though. But it's good to get a bunch of creatures on the battlefield once you got Vela out. Next up is Talrand the Sky Summoner. He's been a little bit of he's an underperformer because I'm not so sure if he belongs in this deck. There aren't a whole lot of instants and sorceries, but he does produce 2/2 Drakes, and they fly, and that can be very important. Next up, we got Pack Rat. Got a bunch of cards in your hand that aren't really useful. Well, Pack Rat can definitely produce more creatures, and if you have enough mana and you can do it enough, he produces a lot of big creatures which can actually attack. I often forget in this deck that attacking is an option, and you can get people down to a lower life total by attacking. It's a thing that can happen. Next up, we got another overperformer in Ogre Slumlord. So the Slumlord, he's 3-mana, black, so 5 total. He's an Ogre Rogue, which is a little weird. He's 3/3, and he says whenever another non-token creature dies, you may put a 1/1 black rat creature token onto the battlefield. And as long as he's out, rats you control have death touch. So this works well with Pack Rat. This works well with Vela. Works well with Blood Artist. He can make some tokens. Bloodline Keeper. This guy's great. This is a flip card. So the front side is 2 and 2 black, so 4 mana for a 3/3 flying vampire that has tap. Put a 2/2 black vampire onto the battlefield that has flying. And then it has, for black, if you control 5 or more vampires, you can pay black to transform him. And on the black side, he becomes a vampire lord. He becomes 5/5. Other vampire creatures you control get +2/+2, and you can tap him to put a 2/2 black vampire onto the battlefield. So he turns into Lord of Lineage. So basically, he's a token producer. He makes tokens. Next up, I got Jalira Master Polymorphist. So this is a legendary creature. Was printed in M15. It's 2/2 for 3 and a blue. And has 2 and a blue, tap it, sacrifice another creature, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-legendary creature and put that card onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library. Now what this does, it gets 1 activation from Vela when Vela's on the battlefield, so everybody loses 1, and gives you another creature, which you can do again. And maybe the creature you get would be Abhorrent Overlord. This guy, he produces lots of black tokens, especially if it's a little bit later in the game, and it should be because he costs 5 and 2 black, so 7. He has flying. He's 6/6. That seems pretty good. When Overlord enters the battlefield, put a number of 1/1 black harpy creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield equal to your devotion to black. So you're at least getting 2 because he has 2. But with any other creatures out, him and Vela, you got 3. And then he says at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. So you can get rid of a harpy token. Vela goes off. It's pretty decent. Now, Supplant Form. This is a new Fate Reforged card. It's 4 and 2 blue for an instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand. You may put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. So this guy, Supplant Form, and Abhorrent Overlord are 2 really good friends. The interaction is great. You play your Abhorrent Overlord, and let's say worst case scenario, you get 2 harpies. You Supplant Form your ogre or your Abhorrent Overlord. So you unsummon him. You get a copy of him. You get 2 more harpies. Then you play your Abhorrent Overlord. Again, let's say you have a whole bunch of mana. And now you have a copy of him and him, so you get 4 more harpies. All the while you're triggering Vela. Grave Titan seems like an auto-include. He's 4 and 2 black for a 6/6 death touch. When he enters the battlefield or attacks, you get 2/2/2 zombies. Just more creatures. Chasm Skulker's pretty good. This deck does a very good job at drawing cards and says whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on this 1/1 for 3. And then when he dies, you put X blue squid creature tokens with Island Walk onto the battlefield, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters you had on him. So this is a token maker. Curse of the Swine. Curse of the Swine can be used on other people's stuff, but it could also be used on your stuff. Because if all your stuff goes away and then you get 2/2 boars, then all your boars go away because you attacked and blocked and did all that fun stuff. All the while you're triggering Vela. Cemetery Reaper gets problem cards out of graveyards and gives you 2/2 zombies in return. So it's 1 and 2 black for a 2/2 zombie that actually gives other zombies +1/+1. And you pay 2 and a black to tap it, exile a creature card from a graveyard, and put a 2/2 zombie onto the battlefield. So, gets you a bunch of tokens. It's kind of a black-blue token strategy. I'm sure there's better cards to do that, but these are the ones that I went with. So next up we got our clear out the board package. And nothing does it better than Wrath of God. Well, I'm sure there are cards that do it better, but for the mana cost, Wrath of God is the best. Now, not playing white, so Damnation. I likes it. All right. Next up, we got Devastation Tide, because maybe you don't necessarily want to kill all your own stuff, but it's real nice when it leaves play because everybody loses 5 life or everybody loses 10 life, or if you're having a really good game, this can be your win condition. So Devastation Tide is a miracle card. Pay 3 and 2 blue to return all non-land permanents to their owner's hand. And then if this was the first card you drew this turn, you miracle it for a blue and 1. Seems good. Next up, we got Deadeye Navigator. This broken little motherfucker. I have no real way in the deck to generate infinite mana, but this guy, his ability is so good. He's 4 and 2 blue for a 5/5. He has Soul Bond, so when he enters the battlefield, you can pair it up with another creature. If he is soul bonded, you and that other creature have 1 and a blue, exile this creature from the battlefield, return it to the battlefield. Now, if you exile Deadeye Navigator and he comes back, you can soul bond him with something different. If you exile the creature that he's bonded with, and that comes back, maybe it has an enter the battlefield effect. Now, this is really busted with infinite mana, because you can bounce, 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 and with Vela, everybody's dead. I did not put that in the deck, because that's as soon as you play it, that's what people see. If you say it's not in the deck, well, then I can't do it, right? I'll play broken cards, and sometimes I'll play broken combos, but they got to be really hard to pull off. So to use this guy to actually win the game is difficult, really difficult in this deck. But it's a lot of value. Ugin, Spirit Dragon. We wiping the board of lots of stuff. I don't care if my stuff gets wiped. It's also just good. He's just good. 8 mana is a lot, but that's fine. Cyclonic Rift. When everybody else's stuff just has to go. It's an unfair card when you overload it, but it can be extremely fair when you just need to get rid of that one thing for right now. Pay 1 and a blue, return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. And then you can overload it, which means instead of saying target non-land, you say each non-land permanent you don't control, but its overload cost is 6 and a blue. Basically says, everybody else pick up all your stuff. My stuff stays. Not the greatest with Vela, but definitely there aren't that many answers to enchantments and like problem artifacts and things like that, so this is one of them. And then my goal with this next card is for it to be the win condition of the deck. So you're playing against me. I have Vela and a bunch of other creatures on the battlefield. And let's say you got a pretty sweet board presence, like you're looking to kill some people next turn. And I tap 7 mana. And then I put Killing Wave on the stack. So this says X and a black. So I'm doing it for 6. For each creature, its controller sacrifices it unless he or she pays X life. Let's say you're at 20. You can save 3 creatures by paying 18 life, or you can let all your stuff die and sacrifice it all. You could save 1 creature, pay 6 life. But you go to 2. If you go to 2, then I kill you, because all my stuff, I'm going to sack it, and Vela is going to go off, and each opponent's going to lose 2. So my goal for this card, and it hasn't happened yet, but it could. My goal for Killing Wave is to make it a win condition. All right, so I'm going to move on to some just value creatures that are just good in the deck, that would be good in just about any deck. First off, Solemn Simulacrum. Scroats my goats. When you need to get that land, when you need to draw a card, he's the shit. Thassa, God of the Sea. Sometimes card selection is more important than card draw, so this is good. She lets you scry on your upkeep. It also is good when the Vela plan isn't working out. You need to go to beat downtown, so you start giving stuff unblockable. Definitely helps out there. So next up, we got Sheoldred, the Whispering One. It's a 6/6 Swamp Walk that for 7, 5, and 2 black. And she says at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Well, since your stuff is popping in and out of the battlefield, in and out of exile, in and out of your hand all the time, it can be very useful. But what's most useful, it says at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. She doesn't stick around for very long. It's one of those cards, so when people blow it up, you're not allowed to feel too bad. Snapcaster Mage. This is great on Dark Ritual. Sounds a little useless, but I've done it before. When you absolutely need those extra 3 to 5 mana, works pretty good. Phyrexian Metamorph, he's just useful. Copies Mana Rocks, copies Howling Minds, copies Rhystic Studies, copies all kinds of shit that people want to play, and you want to punish them for playing. Silent Blade Oni. This guy is 3, 2 blue, 2 black, so he costs 7 for a 6/5. So far, not the best value, but he's a demon ninja. And what he does, you can ninjutsu him in for 4, a blue, and a black. Now, what that means is if you have a creature that isn't blocked, then you can unsummon that creature and put Silent Blade Oni in tapped and attacking instead of that creature. That's how you ninjutsu something in. Now, the good part about this one is when he deals combat damage to a player, look at that player's hand. You may cast a non-land card in it without paying its mana cost. Now, most of the cards in this deck are not terribly broken, Deadeye Navigator notwithstanding. I cast somebody else's Time Stretch yesterday, which led to a combo that's coming up. Lastly, in the just value town creatures, Gravecrawler, there are a few zombies in the deck. Being able to put out another zombie and get one more activation with Vela could be important. So the combo I was talking about that I used Buddy's Time Stretch to accomplish was, it's pretty dirty. It's a little bit nasty, but I did it anyway. It's Jace's Archivist, which says he's 1, 2 blue for a 2/2, so 3 mana 2/2. It's a Vedalken Wizard. Says pay a blue and tap it. Each player discards his or her hand and then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. So everybody drops their hand. The most dropped was 4. Then everybody draws 4. But because in response to that, I'm playing Notion Thief because I'm a dick. So Notion Thief is 2, a blue, and a black with Flash for a 3/1. It says if an opponent would draw a card except for the first one he or she draws in each of his or her draw steps, instead, that player skips that draw and you draw a card. And by you, I mean me. So with Jace's Archivist, let's say it's 4 cards was the most dropped, playing against 3 people. Everybody drops their hand. I draw 16. They draw none. Gross. And that's what I set up. I cast Buddy's Time Stretch. I cast Demonic Tutor. I went to find Jace's Archivist because I had Notion Thief in my hand. I played Jace's Archivist. Passed my turn, went to my second turn of 3 because Time Stretch is a fair fucking card, right? I played Notion Thief, activated Jace's Archivist, and drew 40 cards. Now, a problem with the deck at the time was I don't know why Reliquary Tower wasn't in the deck, but it wasn't. It is now. But I had to discard down to 7. So I picked the best 7, and I went from there. And it ended up being a pretty long, sloughy game, but it was a lot of fun. So that dirty combos, it's in there. It's gross, but sometimes it needs to happen. Sometimes. All right, so next up is my card draw package. Now, I include my two tutors in here because they're more card selection than card draw. So Mystical Tutor goes and finds an instant or sorcery, puts it on top of the deck. Demonic Tutor goes and gets anything and puts it in your hand. So those are my only two tutors. Next up, Sensei's Divining Top, or Divining Top, however you want to say it. Just a useful card. It's right up there with Sol Ring on. It should be in every deck in the format. Monastery Siege, 2 and a blue. The dragons part of this doesn't really matter. It's an enchantment, and you just about always pick cons at the beginning of your draw step. Draw an additional card, then discard a card. Dictative Cruffix, great for flashing out on someone's end step because it's Howling Mine, but because it has flash, it's 1 and 2 blue at the beginning of each player's draw step. That player draws an additional card, which is essentially what Howling Mine does. This is an enchantment with flash, so I can put it I can play it on an end step, and I get the first advantage rather than Howling Mine. I play it on my main phase, and somebody else gets the first advantage. Visions of Beyond. It's a late game card. If you have this in your opening hand, toss it away, get another one, because you want 20 cards in a graveyard, so you want to draw 3 for 1. You want Ancestral Vision. It's what you want. It's a 1-mana instant that draws a card, and if graveyard has 20 or more cards, you draw 3 instead. Dacra Mystic is a fun turn 1 play. Everybody tends to like her, though you get the advantage of knowing what's in people's hand. Here's what she does. It's a 1-mana 1/1. A Merfolk Wizard has pay a blue and tap it. Each player reveals the top card of their library. And you may choose whether they go into their hand or into their graveyard. So, mine's a land, and all 3 of you got bombs, graveyard. Mine's a bomb, land, mana ramp, whatever. Okay, let's put them in our hand. It's kind of cool. Tough choices, and I think that's one of the hallmarks of the format is tough choices. Sigiled Starfish. This is also known as Scryfish, because it's 1 and a blue for a 0/3, not a defender. Tap it and scry 1. Disciple of Bolus. You got that big fat dude on the battlefield. He would be better served in your graveyard and give you 6 cards. Let's say it's a 6/6. Draw 6, gain 6. Can be very useful. Treasure Cruise. I'm sure we all know what this thing does. It's draw 3 for 8. Except it has Delve, so it's really draw 3 for 1, and especially in a format where your graveyard will fill up. It's basically draw 3 for 1. This is one of the only formats it's still legal in, so you got to put it in. Altar's Reap can get you 2 cards when that thing is absolutely dying anyway, so you can sack it. Someone's going to, Path to Exile or condemn your commander or something like that. At instant speed, being able to just sack it and get 2 cards out of it could be really good. Skull Clamp, because stuff's dying anyway, so might as well draw 2 cards off it. So when you Altars Reap something that has Skull Clamp on it, yeah, you lose your creature, but you draw 4 cards, so you don't feel too bad about it. Right into Being. This is 2 and a blue. It's a sorcery. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, manifest one of those cards, and put the other one either on top or on bottom. So you can find a creature, you can manifest a land and fake people out. It also lets you control the top of your library a little bit. And then Sign in Blood, for when your opponent is at 2. Yeah, he's getting 2 cards after he dies, so it's not like he can use them. All right. So next, my counter package. And first up, Counterspell. 2 blue, counter target spell. It's the most basic counter in the game. It's not busted. There's nothing unfair about it in the format. It's a 1 for 1. You got to leave up 2 blue. Maybe you can use them, maybe you can't. Redirect. This one's a lot of fun. When people are about to do something stupid, you can certainly lessen the impact of that. And Neutralizing Blast. It says counter target multicolored spell for 1 and a blue, but it really should just say counter target commander. If you're sitting down at a pod of monocolored commanders, which is possible, it happens, but generally commanders are 2 colors or more. Certainly something that you can side out. You got to remember that it's in there. All right, so the last package is just utility stuff. So we've got Steel Enchantment. This is one of my favorite enchantments because it says enchantment on the card so many times. Steel Enchantment, enchantment, gain control of enchanted enchantment for 2 blue. Copy Enchantment. It's an enchantment. Choose Copy Enchantment. Comes into play. As Copy Enchantment comes into play, you may choose an enchantment in play. If you do, Copy Enchantment comes into play as a copy of that enchantment. They did not need to write all that on the card. It could just say Copy Enchantment comes into play as a copy of an enchantment. But it does not target. That's important. You just choose, and then it becomes a copy of it. Vidalcan Orrery, 4 mana. Everything you control, everything you could cast has flash. Palace Siege. This one, it could be on cons depending on the game. So it's 3 and 2 black. And as it comes into the battlefield, choose cons or dragons. And cons is at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Or dragons says at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So it has multiple purposes. Dark Steel Plate for when you need to protect Vela, because she really is the linchpin of the deck. When she's on the battlefield, the deck is doing a lot more damage. So Dark Steel Plate, it's an equipment, makes her indestructible. Spellskite. It's generally there to mess with people's plays, to kind of make them think about what they're going to cast and when. If there's a creature that someone else is controlling that's actually helping me, well, someone else goes to kill it. Maybe I want Spellskite to go instead. Hex Parasite. I recently discovered this card says, fuck you, Lighthouse Chronologist. So what it does is you pay X and a Phyrexian black. It's a 1/1 for 1 artifact creature. But you pay X and a Phyrexian black, so 2 life or a black. Remove X counters from target permanent. For each counter removed this way, Hex Parasite gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Who cares how big Hex Parasite's power is? Lighthouse Chronologist cannot get to the level up stage where it gets to take an extra turn after everybody else's turn. Something can't happen. So if I can't manage to kill Lighthouse Chronologist, then I have to take the counters off him. This is also the Planeswalker Annihilator, because you just take the loyalty counters off, the Planeswalker dies. Whip of Erebos. Things are dying in this deck, so why not bring them back and have them leave the battlefield again? Reality Shift. For when that creature is such a problem, it just has to go. I don't care what other creatures it is. For 1 and a blue, exile target creature. But they get to manifest the top of their library. So this could either be good for you, or like you could use this on your own stuff if you know the top card using your senseis, or maybe you just cast right into being. You had 2 creatures, so you manifest the first one, then you use this to manifest the second one, and maybe exile a token or something like that. Lots of ways you can use it. It's an instant. It's an instant that says get rid of that right now and have this instead. Soul Ransom. If you can't kill it, take it. And if they don't want you to have it, well, they just discard 2 cards and you sack it, and nobody has it. But they discarded 2 cards, and you get 2 cards out of the deal. I think it's an underplayed card. I think it's really good for 2, a blue and a black. You control enchanted creatures, so you put it on somebody else's. They have to discard 2 cards. Then I sack the creature and draw 2 cards. So it's a pretty big card swing. And Hall of Triumph is in here because it is a bit of a token strategy. Hall of Triumph is a 3-mana artifact that's actually legendary, like it matters. As it enters the battlefield, choose a color. Creatures of the chosen color get +1/+1. So sometimes you end up with a big swarm of tokens. Giving them that extra pump could matter. All right, so the last package, and I'm not going to go through all these, is the non-basic land package. And we got things like Maze of Ith. We got things like Nykthos. Finally, Reliquary Tower. Just your basic lands. I made sure to include this in just about every commander deck I have now. Arcane Lighthouse. It makes creatures your opponents control lose hexproof. That can be very important because when you need to get rid of something, you need to get rid of it. All right? So that's my Vela the Clad deck. Good old Vela. All right? If you like it, great. Give it a shot. Have a look at some of the cards. If you don't like it and it's not your style, completely understand, but this is a blue-black deck that isn't necessarily a control deck. Doesn't do a lot of attacking, so it's not an aggro deck. I guess it'd be mid-range. The whole point is to get as many creatures on the battlefield as you can, recur them, cast them, bounce them. You want things on the battlefield so that they can leave. That's about it. All right? So like and share. Share this with anybody who isn't aware of the podcast or the YouTube channel. I love your support. It's been, things have slowed down a bit as far as the number of episodes coming out each week. I was doing 2 for quite a while, and I've only had the chance to do 1. So anyway, try to get as much as I can out there without overloading you guys. I hope you like the new tech of the YouTube channel. I'm learning quite a bit on how to do that, and it's been a lot of fun. All right, so you can check out our Facebook group, the Luckiest T-Shirt on Facebook. You can check out our Patreon campaign. I always say our; it's basically me, but maybe our is me and my wife. I don't know. You can check out the Patreon campaign. Go to patreon.com/the Luckiest T-Shirt. Little as $1 a month, man. You don't have to give anything if you don't want. The podcast and the YouTube channel are always going to be free, and hopefully always ad free. If the Patreon campaign is a success, well then I never need to advertise, and all I'm looking to do is cover my costs. All right. Anyway, until next time, give me your topic ideas on the Facebook group there. You can email me at luckiesttShirt@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter as well, @luckiesttShirt. And until next time, have fun with it. See ya.